Hey Gems, how's it going? Welcome back. My name is Cherry. This is God's Gems. Welcome to the channel. My subscribers that have been following me, thank you for still following me. I appreciate you all. Anyone new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. So here we talk about a whole bunch of different stuff, but my heart is uh, ministering to single people and how to navigate uh, being single in life and in Christ also. And so, what I want to speak about today is jealousy. Why it's why we should not be jealous. You know, some people have jealousy traits that are super unhealthy and toxic, and it goes for both. It goes for men and women, and a lot of those jealousy feelings, those emotions, they can lead to something that's no bueno, right? And what I need people to understand or start to just understanding that we don't own anyone, right? I'm an individual, you're an individual, right? No tienes que tener celo a otra persona, you know? Um, Sometimes, most of the time, jealousy comes from a place of insecurity. You not understanding who you are, you not getting the revelation of who God created you to be, right? And understanding that with God you are enough. And we also sometimes put so much of our time and emotions and our worth in another person, opposite sex, whichever it may be, and we tend to pour all of our love, all of our attention, all of our energy into that person. And when you're doing that, you're releasing fragments of your soul and putting it into somebody else, creating an identity that is not of yours. You know, you keep pouring yourself, your soul, your time, your energy into everybody and to a person. And after a while, you start to feel a little bit deflated within yourself. And if when you're feeling deflated and not of yourself, you do start to sense a sense of losing pieces of yourself, and you can develop some resentment issues within yourself. But instead of being accountable to yourself and transparent to yourself, you take it on the opposite person. And so what you want to do is that get to that place of reflection. When if you're the type of person that keeps giving to a person, and you're not always going to get reciprocity for that person, or sometimes that person doesn't have the capacity to hold everything you're giving them, and so they may not treat or appreciate the way you expect them to. But you have to understand that everyone is uh, uh, their own person. They have their own culture, their own mindsets, how they were raised, right? What are their personal experiences in past relationships, or even how they were raised by their parents, right? And so I want you to take into accountability um, that when you meet someone, you want to understand who you are. And that all starts, I would encourage everybody to do inner healing for yourself. Like, do your own inner healing work and get to know who you are. If you've been through a lot of crap in life, a lot of junk in your life, then I would encourage you to start doing an inventory of yourself and doing the inner work for yourself to get yourself well, right? Because with all the any trauma you may have, any hurt or brokenness, you're trying to bring into a relationship to another person who doesn't know how to handle that, or doesn't have the skill set to be able to be there for you as best as they possibly can. Because at the end of the day, you're responsible for your own healing, right? We're all not going to be perfect, but you have to get to this place of doing your own inner healing and working on yourself, okay? And so when it comes to people who are jealous, aren't super, I mean, you know, a tinge of jealousy is okay, you know what I mean? But to the point where you're gonna lose yourself or get cray over it, and like, you know, if a woman sees, me and my friend were talking about this the other day, like if a woman comes into a place and your man is looking at the girl like up and down, right? Why is it that women always get mad at the woman, but they get mad at their man, right? But they get more angry at the female than they do at the man, right? Why don't you look at your man first, who's looking at the girl, right? Focus on that kind of relationship. You know what I mean? Ask, like, hey, I mean, men are going to look. Most men, they're going to look. But if he's like eyeballing her up and down and fixated, and you can tell it's like lustful, then that's something that he has to work within himself, and you need to approach him about it, not the girl that just walked in, right? And the opposite is the same for the men. If if you're with your girl and she looks at the dude, and she looks at him and keeps him moving, you know let it go. Don't get so caught up on that glance like that, and you attack her for it and you give her grief for it, right? um, and you won't pay too much mind to the guy. Why? Because deep down inside, that guy just walked in and everyone took a look and kept it moving. Now if your girl is looking up and down like that, that's when you have to have a conversation with her, asking, what's up with that? Like, what is that reaction that you were just looking at that dude so long? You know what I mean? Then that's a conversation for you to have. Doesn't give either parties right to hit someone, attack someone, or hurt them really bad. You know what I mean? Domestic violence is not cool. You know what I mean? And so I want you guys, if you have any jealousy tendencies within yourself, do the inner healing that you need to do. I used to be jealous back in the days. I didn't know. I mean, it took me a long time to get out of that, but of course, it took me a long time to get out of that. And of course, I've had exes that were super jealous too, right? So I got out of those relationships, but I also had to check myself at one point and understand what the jealousy was coming from, the insecurity, what were the boundaries that were crossed, and vice versa. If my ex was, uh, uh, being jealous towards me, what was his problem? What was the pain that he went through? And uh, having a conversation with me, right? But that never happened, because back in the days, it's like, I'm 54 years old right now, right? And so, back in the days, that was considered, in the I mean, I'm Puerto Rican, right? So back in the days, like, oh my God, that's cute, he's jealous of you, or that's cute, she's jealous of you. That means she really loves you, or he really loves you, and stuff like that. And checking on. I mean, men naturally have a protective spirit, right? God created men to be protective, right? But so there's that one point where it's like, oh, when your man is checking on you or your girl is checking on you to see if you're okay. But if it becomes possessive, checking all the time, that's unhealthy, and it's unhealthy for the person doing the checking, because they're only making themselves sick. So if you're that type of person that is always checking, and is coming at a place of insecurity or unhealthiness, then you really need to take care of yourself and figure out why you gotta, be calling them all the time, and checking them all the time and things like that. That's not good for you. You're only making yourself sick. And God doesn't want that for you to get yourself sick like that. And so, back in the days, that was considered cute. You know what I mean? If your man or your girlfriend was jealous and stuff like that. I mean, and it could be. Sometimes it will lead, like, to excessive, toxic uh, behavior. Manhandling, domestic violence, or even women hit men when they get really jealous, right? So I want you guys to understand. I want to talk more about this, about jealousy. I'll probably do another video about this, but I just feel like with the times are, I always talk about it. Look at the times, right? But I just feel like, even like in the summertime, people get caught up in quick summer love, and sometimes you could develop a relationship out of that. But just be mindful when you're meeting people, and going out. Remember, dating is getting to know a person. They don't belong to you, and don't create that this is your husband or this is your wife. Just go out and meet people. You're dating to collect data and to get to know people. Okay? And I've been a victim of that. I create a movie, a scenario, marriage, all this stuff. So I'm coming from a place of understanding. I've been there. And so as I've learned, I want to teach you guys not to be like that, because it really is unhealthy for you. unhealthy for your mind. It's only making you sick, right? And so if you have any friends or family that you know, or people that you know, or celoso, celosa, jellies, in that way that that it's unhealthy. Maybe you want to have a sit down with them and talk to them and and really have a heart to heart with them and tell them that, excuse me, the jealousy that they have is it's unhealthy, right? And it's unhealthy not only for the person they're doing to, but it's unhealthy for them. It's making them sick. Okay, and God created us, whole, right? And like I said in the beginning, we don't own anybody. We don't own anyone, right? Now, in places of marriage, what I'm understanding, like in the Bible, it says the two became one. There's a partnership in there, in that, in a covenant with that, right? And so when married couple got into that, these are things that they should be discussing to begin with. But also, once you're married, there is this expectation of partnership and union, and looking out for each other for the sake of the other person, but of themselves too, to keep the environment safe, to keep the marriage safe, to keep the family safe, right? Jealousy is still not good. It should not be in a marriage. But there is accountability, there is transparency, there is expectancy as a husband or wife to respect each other, to honor each other, and with provision, it's emotional provision, physical provision, spiritual provision, all that stuff. And so when it comes to marriage, there is that aspect of the two belonging to each other, and in matrimony, but it doesn't mean that they're allowed to disrespect each other, right? And so I just hope that if anybody in here has the jelly bean, me and my friends, we joke all around the time, like, don't be a jelly. But like, we'll do things like that. Like if we're hanging out with a friend and they didn't come, and they'll find out like, oh, you hung out with so and so, and you'd invite me, or I didn't show up, and we'll say things like, hey, don't be such a jelly, right? But that's cute, things like that, right? But when it gets to a point when it's dark and toxic and violent, man, you don't want to entertain that, and you don't want to be that person, because you're only making yourself sick. And so if you are a extremely jealous person, and it's got to a point that you have extreme jealousy that is dark, unhealthy, um, got your mind going, going crazy, got you overthinking and making yourself sick, I pray that you would surrender that to God, right? And just ask God to help you come out of that jealousy spirit. That's a jealousy spirit that's causing you to not be victorious, that's containing you and using you to hurt other people. And know that, not everyone is for somebody. And if that person isn't for you, and they are causing you to be jealous all the time, it's definitely something, it is definitely something within you. But then maybe that person isn't for you, um, for whatever reason. And it's not their fault, right? But if this is a person that you're not finding joy and peace with, right, that you should, first of all, you should have your own joy and your peace. But if it's somebody that's just stealing your joy and your peace at some point, and it's causing all these jealousy feelings, emotions, and you might want to check that relationship and pull out of that, just for your own sanity, right? And to surrender that person, and just make Jesus the center of your life and your heart. He should be king of your heart, nobody else. And you want to remember that Jesus is the king of your heart. And just don't give anybody any platform, and don't put high expectations on people, because like Jesus said, people will fail you, but he won't. And so yeah, so please, anyone that's going through jealousy issues, please, like, come out of that in Jesus' name. Pray about that. I'll be praying for you guys also, that you will come out of that, do your own inner healing. And if there's friends or family that are in that situation, like pull them out of it. Talk to them if they're the person that's jealous, or if they're in a relationship with their opposite person is jealous of everything that they do. Just have that conversation with that, with them, because you see these news things that come out all the time, you know, domestic violence, that, and most of it is, you know, jealousy, which is, you know, of course, insecurity, unhealthy. You're not a you're not a healthy person emotionally, but you can be. So if you are a jealous person and you know it's a little bit out of control, just surrender that to God. You know, just, you know, let that person go. Just keep it moving, and do your own inner healing work. And you know, if you guys break up, it's not the end of the world. It's not. It's not the end of the world if you guys break up. It is not. You know, it is not going to be the end of the world. You know, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And God may have somebody better for you, and you may not think God doesn't have anybody better for you, but, you know, just ask Him and pray and believe that, you know, if this isn't working out with this person, that God has somebody better for you. Okay. So bless you all. God bless you. Have a great day. It's super hot. um, I went to the beach this weekend with my friend. We had so much fun. And it was nice catching up with her, even though she was super late. So if she's watching. But we had fun at the beach. I got another tan, and enjoy the summer. Have fun this summer, you know. Just have fun. Pray and believe God has somebody who will love you and appreciate you. But you got to start with yourself. Love and appreciate yourself, and come to a place of being peace with yourself, having your own peace. Okay? Bye bye.